Dahlia slammed the door of the old Victorian house in suburban Chicago, her heart pounding as she clutched the crumpled bank statement. It showed zero balance in her father's trust fund, the money he had left her after his sudden death from cancer 2 years ago. Her uncle and aunt, who had adopted her as a teenager after her parents' divorce, had drained it all, leaving her penniless and furious. But what stung more was discovering their secret disdain for her sexuality, whispered in family gatherings as if her love for women was a curse that justified their theft. She paced the dimly lit living room, her mind racing through memories of her father's final days. He had been a quiet engineer, saving every penny for her future, trusting his brother, Uncle Harold, and his wife, Aunt Miriam, to manage the estate fairly. Dahlia had been too grief-stricken to question the paperwork they shoved at her, signing away control while she navigated college applications and her first real heartbreak. Now at 24, working as a barista to pay for her psychology degree, the betrayal hit like a freight train. How could they do this? She thought, her inner voice a storm of rage and hurt. They raised me after Mom left, but was it all a facade? The adoption had felt like salvation back then, pulling her from a chaotic home into their strict, religious household. But salvation came with strings, endless lectures on proper behavior, subtle digs at her tomboy ways, and outright horror when she came out at 18. Dahlia sank onto the worn couch, tears blurring her vision. The statement wasn't just numbers, it was her dreams evaporating: grad school, a stable life away from their judgment. Uncle Harold, with his booming voice and Bible quotes, had always positioned himself as the family patriarch, but now she saw the greed beneath. Aunt Miriam, prim and judgmental, had co-signed every withdrawal, probably justifying it as God's will for her wayward niece. Dahlia's thoughts spiraled. I trusted them like parents. They promised to honor Dad's wishes. Was my orientation the excuse they needed to steal? She recalled the awkward family dinners where they'd invite eligible young men from church, ignoring her discomfort, pushing her toward a life she couldn't live. The pressure had built silently, eroding her self-worth, making her question if she deserved any inheritance at all. That evening, Dahlia drove to the small apartment she shared with roommates in the city, her phone buzzing with missed calls from Aunt Miriam. She ignored them, instead dialing Daisy, her girlfriend of 6 months. Daisy answered on the first ring, her voice a soothing anchor in the chaos. Hey love, what's wrong? You sound wrecked. Dahlia poured out the story between sobs, the words tumbling like release floodwaters. Daisy, a graphic designer with a fiery spirit and her own history of family rejection, listened without interruption. They can't get away with this, Daisy said finally, her tone laced with determination. We'll figure it out together. Dahlia felt a flicker of hope amid the despair, but doubt crept in. What if fighting them destroys what's left of my family? Am I ready to burn those bridges? The next day, Dahlia met Daisy at a cozy coffee shop downtown, the aroma of fresh brews doing little to ease her tension. Daisy slid into the booth, her short pixie cut framing concerned eyes. Show me the papers, she urged, and Dahlia handed over the stack she'd printed from the bank. As Daisy scanned them, her expression hardened. This looks like fraud, Dahlia. Unauthorized transfers to their accounts. We need a lawyer. Dahlia hesitated, her mind flashing to childhood Christmases at their home, the only stability she'd known. But stability built on lies? She countered inwardly. Daisy's hand on hers grounded her. Their relationship had started innocently enough, at a LGBTQ support group on campus, where Daisy's laugh had cut through Dahlia's isolation. Now it was becoming her lifeline. I don't want to drag you into this mess, Dahlia whispered. Daisy squeezed her hand. I'm already in it because I love you. And love means fighting for what's right. Dahlia's internal conflict raged as they left the shop. Part of her yearned to confront Uncle Harold directly, demand answers, but fear held her back. The fear of their rejection turning overt, of being disowned not just financially but emotionally. Society's whispers echoed in her head. The judgmental stares at pride parades, the news stories of families torn apart over identity. Was she strong enough? As they walked hand in hand through the bustling streets, a passerby's glare reminded her of the stakes. But Daisy's presence bolstered her resolve. That night, alone in her room, Dahlia journaled her thoughts. If I stay silent, I'm letting them win, validating their bigotry. But speaking up could cost me everything. The decision loomed like a shadow, pulling her toward action. By week's end, Dahlia had scheduled a meeting with a pro bono lawyer from the local LGBTQ legal aid center, recommended by Daisy. The office was stark, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, but the lawyer, Ms. Rivera, exuded competence. "This is embezzlement," she stated after reviewing the documents. "We can sue for recovery, but it'll be ugly, court battles, family secrets aired." Dahlia nodded, her stomach twisting. Ugly is what they've made it, she thought. Ms. Rivera warned of the emotional toll, especially given the homophobic undertones in the family's communications she'd uncovered in old emails. Dahlia's aunt had written to a cousin about praying for Dahlia's soul, linking her lifestyle to the financial decisions. The revelation fueled Dahlia's anger, but also a deep sadness. They never saw me as family, only as a problem to fix. As the legal process began, Dahlia's interactions with her aunt and uncle grew strained. A tense phone call from Uncle Harold accused her of ingratitude. "After all we've done, raising you like our own," he bellowed. Dahlia bit back. "Like your own? You stole from me." The line went dead, leaving her shaking. Daisy was there to hold her, whispering encouragements, but Dahlia wondered, is this love worth the war it's sparking? The societal pressure weighed heavy. Friends advising reconciliation, media portraying queer individuals as disruptors. Yet in her core, Dahlia knew silence equaled complicity. The weeks blurred into a routine of depositions and discoveries. Dahlia uncovered more. Her aunt had used the money for lavish vacations, justifying it as compensation for the burden of her adoption. The betrayal cut deeper than finances. It was a rejection of her very existence. Daisy's support never wavered, but cracks appeared. Late nights arguing over strategy, Dahlia's mood swings testing their bond. One evening, after a particularly grueling meeting, Dahlia snapped at Daisy over a minor suggestion. "You don't understand what it's like to lose family." Daisy recoiled, her eyes filling with tears. "I do, Dahlia. My parents disowned me when I came out. But I'm choosing you over fear." The words hung heavy, forcing Dahlia to confront her own insecurities. Am I pushing her away to protect myself? Reconciliation attempts from relatives flooded in, cousins pleading for peace, but Dahlia saw through the facade, fear of scandal, not genuine remorse. Her inner monologue intensified. "They've painted me as the villain for loving who I love, but truth demands a price." As the case built, Dahlia felt a shift, a burgeoning strength, forged in the fire of adversity. Yet the cost was mounting. Sleepless nights, strained friendships, and the ever-present doubt if justice was worth the heartbreak. Dahlia stared at the subpoena in her hand, the official seal mocking her fragile resolve. The lawsuit was moving forward, set for a hearing in 3 months, but the emotional skirmishes had already begun. Uncle Harold's lawyer fired off aggressive letters, accusing her of fabricating claims to fund a deviant lifestyle, the words slicing through her like knives. How dare they weaponize my identity? She seethed inwardly, the pain morphing into fuel for her fight. Daisy suggested a weekend getaway to escape the pressure, booking a cabin in the Wisconsin woods. As they drove north, the cityscape fading into forests, Dahlia opened up about her childhood fears. "I always felt like an outsider in their home," she confessed, her voice barely above the hum of the engine. "Adopted at 15, after Dad's work took him overseas and Mom bailed. They were supposed to be my safety net." Daisy reached for her hand. "And now they're the trap. But you're breaking free." The cabin was simple, a reprieve where they could just be cooking meals, sharing stories under starlit skies. Yet even there Dahlia's mind wandered. Is this happiness fleeting? Will the lawsuit taint us? Daisy's gentle reassurances helped, but doubt lingered. Back in Chicago, the family rift widened. Aunt Miriam showed up unannounced at Dahlia's workplace, her face a mask of feigned concern. "This is tearing us apart, dear. Drop the suit. Let's pray together." Dahlia's blood boiled. Pray? For what, your forgiveness or my erasure? She excused herself politely but firmly, the encounter leaving her drained. That night she vented to Daisy. "They act like victims, but they're the thieves." Daisy nodded, her own past resurfacing, disowned at 19 for dating a woman, scraping by on odd jobs until she built her career. "Family isn't blood, it's choice," she said. Their bond deepened, but so did the stakes. Dahlia worried her drama would scare Daisy away. As evidence mounted, Ms. Rivera uncovered forged signatures on transfer documents, pointing to outright fraud. Dahlia's elation was short-lived when relatives boycotted her birthday, sending pointed messages about honoring thy elders. The societal mirror reflected harshly. Online forums debating inheritance rights versus family loyalty, often siding against troublemakers like her. Dahlia's inner turmoil peaked. Am I the monster for demanding justice, or are they for their hypocrisy? She threw herself into therapy, unpacking layers of internalized shame from years of subtle homophobia. One explosive family meeting, orchestrated by a neutral cousin, turned chaotic. Uncle Harold thundered about moral decay, linking Dahlia's sexuality to her greed. We saved you from ruin, and this is thanks? Aunt Miriam wept dramatically, clutching her cross. Dahlia stood her ground. You stole my future to fund yours. My love has nothing to do with it. The room erupted in accusations, relatives taking sides. Daisy, waiting outside, rushed in when Dahlia stormed out, tears streaming. You were brave, she whispered. But bravery felt like isolation. Dahlia questioned if the fight was worth the familial exile. Midway through preparations, a bombshell dropped. Aunt Miriam's health scare, a minor heart episode, which they blamed on the stress of the lawsuit. Guilt gnawed at Dahlia. Did I cause this? Should I back down for peace? Daisy urged her on. They're manipulating you. Health issues don't excuse theft. The moral quandary tore at her. Duty versus self-preservation, love versus legacy. Society's expectations amplified the noise. Women, especially queer ones, often expected to forgive, to nurture, not to fight. Dahlia's decisions weighed heavy, each one a potential regret. Discovery revealed more betrayals. Emails showing Uncle Harold's investments gone bad, using her funds as bailout. The logic was irrefutable, but the emotional cost mounted. Dahlia lost weight, sleep evaded her, and arguments with Daisy escalated over trivial things, masking deeper fears. What if we don't survive this? Dahlia confessed one night. Daisy pulled her close. We will, because we're fighting for us too. The assurance helped, but Dahlia's psyche fractured under pressure. As the hearing approached, anonymous threats arrived. Harassing calls questioning her fitness as a family member. Paranoia set in. Were relatives behind it or societal bigots? Dahlia's resolve hardened, but at what price? Her job suffered. Concentration lapsed during shifts. Daisy took on more, supporting them both, but resentment simmered unspoken. The drama wasn't just legal. It was a test of their relationship's endurance. A pivotal moment came when Dahlia found old letters from her father, hidden in attic boxes during a visit to reclaim belongings. He wrote of pride in her authenticity, urging her to live truthfully. Tears flowed as she read. Don't let anyone dim your light, kiddo. The words reignited her fire, countering the family's narrative. But empowerment came with sorrow. Why couldn't they see what Dad did? The section closed with Dahlia preparing her testimony, scripting words that balanced hurt and hope. The path ahead was fraught, but retreat meant surrender. Not just of money but of self. The courtroom loomed like a battlefield, the wooden benches filled with whispering spectators as Dahlia took the stand. Her voice trembled at first, recounting the adoption, the trust fund, the discoveries. Uncle Harold glared from the defense table, his lawyer painting her as an ungrateful rebel. Isn't it true your lifestyle choices strained family ties? The attorney probed, the question dripping with insinuation. Dahlia's mind screamed. My love isn't on trial, she responded steadily. My personal life is irrelevant to their theft. The exchange electrified the room, exposing the undercurrents of prejudice. Post-hearing, media snippets circulated, local news framing it as a queer inheritance dispute, sensationalizing her sexuality over the facts. Dahlia's inbox flooded with hate mail, strangers judging her choices. Why does society care who I love more than who stole from me? She pondered, the isolation deepening. Daisy shielded her, filtering messages, but the toll showed in their quiet dinners, conversations laced with exhaustion. Aunt Miriam's testimony followed, tearful pleas of good intentions. We thought we were helping, guiding her back to the path. The courtroom gasped at the veiled homophobia. Dahlia's anger boiled. Guiding? To what? Denial? Ms. Rivera dismantled it with evidence, but the emotional damage lingered. Relatives testified next, some supporting the aunt and uncle, others hesitantly admitting irregularities. The divisions ran deep, fracturing lifelong bonds. Dahlia questioned her pursuit. Is victory worth this carnage? Mid-trial, a betrayal stung hardest. A cousin, once an ally, flipped, revealing private texts where Dahlia vented frustration. She's unstable, the cousin claimed, twisting words to undermine her credibility. Dahlia felt gutted. Blood means nothing if loyalty's absent. Daisy confronted the cousin privately, defending fiercely, but the incident strained their trust. Dahlia withdrawing, fearing vulnerability. I can't lose you too, she admitted later. Daisy's response. You won't, but you have to let me in. The trial's logic unfolded meticulously. Financial trails proving embezzlement, expert witnesses confirming forgeries. Yet, the human element muddied waters. Uncle Harold's breakdown on the stand, admitting desperation after bad investments. We never meant to hurt her, he sobbed. Dahlia's empathy flickered. Desperation or deceit? The moral gray area tormented her. Society's lens amplifying queer individuals as unforgiving. Outside court, protests formed. LGBTQ advocates rallying for her. Countergroups decrying family disruption. The spotlight intensified her inner conflicts. Am I a symbol or just a person seeking justice? Daisy's career suffered. Clients pulled away from the controversy. Guilt consumed Dahlia. My fight's costing her dreams. They argued heatedly one night. Maybe settle, Dahlia suggested. Daisy refused. Settling means accepting their bigotry. The standoff tested their love's limits. A turning point arrived with leaked family emails, exposing outright disdain. Her kind doesn't deserve the money. The judge's stern rebuke shifted momentum, but victory felt pyrrhic. Dahlia's therapy sessions delved deeper. Unpacking adoption trauma, societal rejection. You're reclaiming your narrative, the therapist said. But reclamation hurt. Lost sleep, panic attacks. As closing arguments neared, Uncle Harold approached Dahlia in the hallway, voice low. End this for family's sake. Her refusal was firm but inwardly wavered. What family? The one that betrayed me? Daisy's encouragement bolstered her. Their bond a beacon amid chaos. The verdict loomed, tensions peaking. Dahlia reflected on choices. Fighting back meant damage, but silence meant erasure. The drama's web ensnared all, forcing reckonings. The judge's gavel echoed as the verdict came down. Guilty of embezzlement, full restitution ordered, plus damages. Dahlia's relief was immediate but bittersweet, the courtroom erupting in murmurs. Uncle Harold slumped, Aunt Miriam wailing dramatically. Justice served, but at what cost? Dahlia thought, glancing at the empty family seats. Relatives had abandoned them mid-trial. Post-verdict, the media frenzy intensified. Interviews pulling her into the public eye. How does it feel to win against family? Reporters asked. Triumphant? Hollow, she mused inwardly. The money would rebuild her future. Grad school, stability, but the emotional ruins lingered. Daisy celebrated quietly, popping champagne in their apartment. To new beginnings. Yet Dahlia sensed strain. Daisy's eyes held unspoken resentments from the ordeal. Repercussions rippled. Uncle Harold's business tanked under scandal. Aunt Miriam isolated in their community. Guilt pricked Dahlia. Did I destroy them? Moral debates raged in her mind. Retribution versus mercy, especially under societal scrutiny of queer vengeance narratives. Friends distanced themselves, fearing association. Others praised her courage. The isolation deepened her dependence on Daisy, but cracks widened. One night, Daisy confessed, "This fight changed us. I love you, but I'm exhausted." Dahlia's heart sank. Am I losing her to the war I started? They talked till dawn, unpacking damages, the missed dates, the arguments, the fear. We survived, Daisy concluded, but doubt seeded. Family attempts at reconciliation followed. Half-hearted apologies via letters. We were wrong, Uncle Harold wrote, but no mention of her identity. Dahlia tore it up, too little too late. The decision to cut ties felt liberating yet lonely. Society's echo chamber judging her unforgiving. As funds transferred, Dahlia invested wisely, but therapy revealed deeper wounds. Adoption insecurities, internalized homophobia. You've paid dearly, the therapist noted. Indeed, the price was her innocence, her trust. Daisy's support wavered under pressure. A job offer in New York tempted her. Stay or go? Daisy asked. Dahlia's plea. We built this together. The choice hung a new conflict. High drama peaked when Aunt Miriam confronted her at a park. You've ruined us. Tears flowed as old grievances aired. Adoption regrets, sexuality clashes. Dahlia stood firm. You ruined yourselves. The encounter forced awakening. Pain's cycle ends with choice. Daisy's decision loomed, testing their bond's resilience. Dahlia reflected. Love demands sacrifice, but how much? The aftermath was a minefield of regrets and rebirths. Months after the verdict, Dahlia stood in her new apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, the restitution money affording modest independence. Classes progressed, her psychology studies ironically mirroring her turmoil. But solitude amplified reflections. The family's silence, Daisy's sporadic texts from New York. Did I push too hard? She wondered, the quiet nights filled with what-ifs. Rebuilding began tentatively. New friends from support groups, therapy breakthroughs unpacking layers of trauma. Society's gaze softened. Some articles hailed her as a trailblazer against familial abuse. Yet, personal costs loomed. The ache of estrangement, the void Daisy left. A surprise call from a distant relative offered olive branches, but Dahlia declined. Healing means boundaries. Uncle Harold's plea for forgiveness arrived via email, detailing his remorse and therapy. Aunt Miriam's followed, acknowledging prejudices. Dahlia read them tearfully. Too damaged to mend? The moral crossroads. Forgive for peace or hold firm for principle. Daisy's return visit sparked hope. Awkward coffees evolving to honest talks. The distance showed me we need each other, Daisy said. Reconciliation tentative, they navigated scars, rebuilding trust. Love's resilience shone, but tempered by lessons. Awakening fully, Dahlia volunteered at LGBTQ centers, channeling pain into advocacy. The journey's end wasn't triumph but growth. Understanding choices ripples, society's slow shift. Yet questions lingered. In fighting back, did she right a wrong or perpetuate division? Was her rebellion justified, or could compromise have spared the heartbreak? In the end, was it right to prioritize personal justice over familial bonds, even when those bonds were laced with betrayal and bigotry?